What's up, YouTube? It's the one and only legend of winning, aka Low, and I'm back with another episode of the NBA preview. Now, for those out there who missed the last episode, as always, there'll be an annotation in the top right hand corner, link in the description, and if you watch the video in its entirety, I'm pretty sure you know the rest of the intro. Let's get right into this video. Now, for today's video, we're going to talk about the Portland TRAILBLAZERS, as they are the 11th team in my NBA preview. A lot of people are going to hate me for this. A lot of people believe that it should be lower. Some people make the argument that they probably won't even make the playoffs, but I'm going to clear their air in this video. But before we get to that, let's wrap up what the Portland TRAILBLAZERS have done over the past couple of years. So as we all know, LaMarcus Aldridge left the organization 2 years ago, and the concerns for the organization and the direction they were heading into was at an all-time high. After LaMarcus Aldridge left, along with Nicholas Batum, Wesley Matthews, and Robin Lopez, 4 out of the 5 starters on the team, a lot of people were concerned on what exactly was going to happen and who was going to step up. Luckily for everyone, especially when it comes to Portland fans, Dame Dollar himself decided to step up along with CJ McCollum, and they were able to ride the wave over the past couple of seasons. And last year, even though yes, they struggled a little bit, especially when it comes to their injuries, and in the win-loss column, they weren't really that favorable for a majority of the season, they bounced back towards the end of the season, rallied a couple wins, especially after they were able to get Nurkic on the roster, and they squeezed into the playoffs basically at the last second. Now, unfortunately for them though, because they squeezed in, that means that they got the 8th seed, and if they got the 8th seed, that means they're going to have to go up against the Golden State Warriors yet again, and they got knocked out of the playoffs in the first round, and it was basically expected, which then leads a lot of people to wonder, is it even worth it, and more than likely should they just tank or at least miss the playoffs for at least 1 or 2 more seasons so they will be able to get a favorable pick in the draft. And luckily for them, they were able to move up, select Zach Collins, and get rid of a pretty hefty contract in Alan Crabbe as well. But with that being said, let's actually just go on to our summer social media for our clip of the day.
I got some bars for y'all. Know when they gonna be fine, and I know when to give them something. Don't never try to finesse me. I know when to sucker bluffing, huh? Small circle, man, it's hard to get close to me. I stick to who I am and not who I'm supposed to be. I never say much. They might say I'm awkward socially. Your girl, Miss Parker, and I'm Professor Ogilvy. So y'all see one thing and women see another. You see a baller rapping, not an educated hustler. To keep it real, I was fly before the money and the fame. If you a cornball now, you was corny when you came. I'm giving game for the clueless and the lost souls. This'll be the map for y'all on lost roads. Words from a frog. To all of y'all toads, I'm the new definition of all of y'all goals. Hello?
Now, to be completely honest with people, I really didn't have no clip for the Portland TRAILBLAZERS because they didn't really add anything to their roster. But shout out to my man Dame, because he did drop an album. You know, he be spitting that fire, he be spitting that heat, so it is what it is. And then when it comes to Alan Crabbe, which is something that was really important, and possibly even Evan Turner as well, the money management with this team was a bit suspect. Paying Alan Crabbe that much money was ridiculous, especially for his services, as he was a bench player. And then even Evan Turner, it's still kind of suspect on how much he's getting paid as well. But with that being said, it's actually a great transition to our contracts on our depth chart, so you can figure out why exactly I'm saying this. So first, as we look at our contracts, like I stated in the intro, they really didn't add anybody whatsoever. Archie Goodwin on a 1-year deal, along with Anthony Morrow on a 1-year deal, a couple of other players as well, but really just 1-year deals. Then when it comes to our overpaid players, Evan Turner making $17 million a year. I think this is probably the biggest mistake that many teams have made, which is just overpaying players. But you know, I can't even say it is what it is. That's a terrible move. They need to trade him as soon as possible, especially if he's going to be producing the way he was last year. So get rid of Evan Turner, but I am happy for them that they got rid of Alan Crabbe. Then when it comes to expiring contracts, a very interesting plot line for this team. Nurkic is on an expiring contract this upcoming season. Now, he will be a restricted free agent because he's still on his rookie deal, but it will be interesting to see how much money he goes for in the open market if they don't give him an offer. Then we have Shabazz Napier, Noah Vonleh, and Ed Davis as well. But again, Nurkic is definitely the biggest piece when it comes to expiring contracts. Now transition over to the depth chart, and in my opinion, it's a pretty solid roster. We have Dame and CJ in the backcourt, obviously, Mo Harkless at the 3, Noah Vonleh at the 4, and Nurkic at the 5. Coming off the bench, we have Napier, Evan Turner, Aminu Davis, and the legend himself, Leonard. And then we have the rookie Collins, big old Pat coming off that bench as well. Now when it comes to this roster, I like it a lot. There's a lot of flexibility when it comes to this team. I like the fact that they have Mo Harkless and Aminu. Both of them are roughly 6'8", 6'9", can play some small ball 4 if you need them to. Noah Vonleh is a bit sketchy at the power forward position, but again, when you have depth, especially flexibility with your forwards, I like that. Hopefully Zach Collins, the rookie, can come in and give them some type of productivity sooner than later, because the legend himself, Lillard, he needs some breaks every now and then. But obviously when it comes to this team, and also before I actually move on, Evan Turner has to play better. Let's keep it 100. Evan Turner has to play better. I was assuming that he was going to be really good last year, especially because he was coming off a really good season with Boston. But maybe it was one of those years where you want an expiring contract, you got to prove your worth so you can get that bag. And so I understand that, but you got to play better than what he did last year, which is really concerning. But with that being said, Coach Terry Scott did say that it may take him a while to get accustomed to their playing style. So hopefully that's what's going to happen. And also shout out to my man Coach Terry Scott as well, because he did say that Aminu was going to play a little bit more 3 than he was going to play at that power forward position like he did 2 years ago. So I would like to see them run small ball in my opinion, but if they want to run at the 3, especially because they need some perimeter defense, because we all know that Dame and CJ ain't playing no defense on the perimeter, I guess that's why you have Harkless and Aminu out there at the 3 besides the 4. But at the end of the day, we all know it boils down to Dame, CJ, and Nurkic. That's basically what this team is made out of, along with some really solid complementary pieces. And I think that when you have 3 talented offensive players like those 3, I believe the sky's the limit, especially because they're young. They have a lot to prove offensively. All 3 of them are really efficient. But I like this roster. I like the depth on this team, and I like the star power as well. And with that being said, that's actually a great transition to our Spotlight Player of the Day. And no, it's not Dame. No, it's not CJ. But it is Nurkic. Jusuf Nurkic is a 7-foot big man hailing from somewhere overseas, because I'm not going to act like I know how to pronounce the country that he's from, but he is an overseas player, drafted in the 2014 draft in the first round with the 16th pick, and for the most part he's been playing with the Denver Nuggets his entire career. However, last year the Nuggets decided to go in a different direction, trade him away, make some more room for Jokic in the front court, and ever since then, and I know it's a small sample size, but in the last 20 games with the Portland TRAILBLAZERS last year, he was a huge and big reason why they were able to turn their season around and squeeze into the playoffs. In the last 20 games that he played for Portland, he was a consistent 15 and 10 guy, along with giving you 3 assists and 2 blocks and converting on 50% of his shots. Now again, I understand it is a small sample size, but you can't overlook how great of a fit it is for Nurkic on this team. Nurkic is on a roster that desperately needed some scoring options in that front court. And even though, yes, Dame and CJ are really good when it comes to scoring in that back court, adding Nurkic to that team definitely wasn't going to hurt whatsoever. And I'm actually pretty surprised how easy the transition was for Nurkic, adding him to a roster that has 2 dominant ball handlers in both Dame and CJ, which is a great thing, because if he was able to pick up on it within the last 20 games, I can only imagine what's going to happen when he has a full 82-game season with this team. Now also keep in mind that Nurkic is only 23 years old, which means that if we were being optimistic about Nurkic and the potential he has on this team, more likely he will be better this upcoming season than he was last year, especially because now he has a much more defined role on this team compared to where he was at in his previous organization with Denver. So because of this, it wouldn't be that surprising to me at all if Nurkic had a jump in productivity, especially on the offensive end, this upcoming season. But even if the worst case scenario is that he plateaus as a 15-point scorer who grabs 10 rebounds, 3 assists, and nearly 2 blocks, I don't understand why so many people are overlooking that, because if you add that type of option in the front court, especially on a team that desperately needed some scoring option in the front court, if you add that to a team like the Portland TRAILBLAZERS, I think the playoffs is definitely where they belong. But with that being said, let's transition to our Twitter question of the day. Now, when it comes to today's Twitter question, it's not so much of a Twitter question, but more so me clarifying something that I've seen consistently in my comment section over the last couple of days. Now let's get something clear real quick. When it comes to the Blazers, the Pelicans, the Clippers, and the Nuggets, by far the 4 most hardest teams to rank in this preview. because for the most part, there's so many variables that you have to consider when you're trying to rank these teams, and I try to be as optimistic as possible, but there's obviously some problems with all of these teams, and you have to be very concerning. When it comes to the Portland Trailblazers, yes, offensively, they seem like they are much more well-rounded than I think a lot of people give them credit for, but the defensive problems, especially on the perimeter, are still very prevalent, and who knows how Aminu's going to come back and Evan Turner, if he's ever going to be able to fit in the system, but I still feel as if the offensive promise with players such as Dame, CJ, and Nurkic should be more than enough to convince people to believe that they are a playoff team. And so when it came to me trying to judge the Portland Trailblazers, that's the biggest reason why I came to that conclusion. Now, when it came to the other teams, their concerns were just too big to overlook. When it comes to the Clippers, they obviously have injury problems with Gallinari and Blake Griffin, and if either one of them miss way too many games, then they're not going to make the playoffs. When it comes to the Pelicans, they definitely have depth problems, and their biggest assets on the team, which are Anthony Davis and DeMarcus Cousins, if they cannot coexist with one another on the court, then that entire season is ruined as well. And then when it comes to the Denver Nuggets, let me be extremely clear about this because I don't think people understand. Yes, last year they were a great offensive team, but even with them being one of the best offensive teams in the NBA, which according to Basketball Reference, they finished 3rd in offensive rating, they were still a losing team. Like, I don't think people understand that. Even with them being a great offensive team, they were still a losing team. Now, I know a lot of people are going to sit there and say that Jokic is going to be a starter for the entire season, and that is true, but even last year when he was a starter, which was for a majority of the season, they were still a 500 team. So at best, we're talking about a team that last year provided us with a 500 record with Jokic as a starting center. And I know people are going to be optimistic about Gary Harris and Jamal Murray, but if you're going to be that optimistic about two guards that really haven't proved anything whatsoever in the NBA, especially when it comes to playing at an elite level, I don't know why you can't be more optimistic about two guards in Dame and CJ, who have consistently proven, especially over the last year and a half, that they can play at an elite level, especially Damian Lillard. And then you add in Nurkic to that team, who, if he plateaus, is a double-double guy who can give you 3 assists and nearly 2 blocks. So yes, the Portland Trailblazers, I don't understand how it's debatable. They are indeed a playoff team, and in my opinion, I think they're going to win somewhere around 47 to maybe even 50 games this upcoming season. But let me know what you think about the Portland Trailblazers in the comment section below, because those are just my thoughts. Also, hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video, the subscribe button if you want to be updated, along with that notification bell as well. But with all that being said, people, I'll see you all tomorrow. Peace.